All right, welcome back. Today we are going to be learning about basic spatial analysis. What does that mean? Well, basically, we're going to be following along with the instruction you were giving here. Um, and like always, I'll be providing explanations for that. Within the instruction, you're given a scenario. It reads, "You were hired by the Arkansas Fish and Wildlife Service to make planning uh, for a duck hunting park that is open to the public. They need those campgrounds to meet two requirements: one, close to water for duck habitats, and two, far away from major cities so that residents will not be accidentally hurt. And three, on public lands." I guess that's three requirements. The final deliverable to the park manager should include a map identifying all the suitable areas for hunting. Okay, this is probably going to take a little bit. Spatial analysis is not really that involved, but there's, a lot of steps involved. So hopefully you are comfortable, and like me, if you drink coffee, you have a large cup of it, because we're going to get into this. Okay, so let's go ahead and find the data that we're going to use for this. This is going to be lab 11, I believe. Data, yeah. Let's go ahead and extract that. By now you should know how to extract files. Come on, computer, let's go. Huh. There we go. Okay, extract all. Extract. It's probably going to take a little bit, so it's a pretty large data set. So just wait for that to extract fully, and then we'll start working. In the meantime, well, it's already extracted. You want to open ArcMap and have a new blank template open. And so to start this out, we've got a new blank template open here, and we're going to add AR_rivers, Arkansas Rivers. So we'll go to add data. We'll navigate to that source. Folder connections. Go here to my labs. We said it was lab 11. Data. Here we go. Okay, so we're going to add Arkansas Rivers. Hit add. Okay, so we see here's our rivers. And what we're going to do here is we're going to create a buffer around these rivers to show what's close to water for the duck habitats. You can open Arc Toolbox by clicking on this the red toolbox right here, and this should open up for you. What we're going to do to create a buffer is we're going to hit Analysis Tools, Proximity, and then Buffer. And double click Buffer. The buffer window will open. The instruction gives you how far you want to locate your, how the distance from your rivers that you want to create your buffer. So the input feature, we've only got one here, but we're working in rivers, so the input feature, of course, wants to be rivers. So we'll drop that down, add rivers. Do not save to default.gdb. We're going to save this in a specific folder for our project, so we'll go back into lab 11. We'll call this results. Double click that, and we're going to call it, let's see here, the instruction has us call it something a little bit different. We're going to call this AR underscore rivers underscore 5 km underscore buffer. It says in the instruction 2 km. I assume that it's some previous point they made 2 kilometer buffers. We're going to do it for 5 kilometers. We'll type SHP here, hit save, and then we'll see that it changed to store in our results folder. For the linear unit, we're going to type in 5,000. Make sure this is meters. Let's see. You don't need to change the side type. That's not a big deal. Planner. Make sure that your dissolve type is changed to all. And what this is going to do is, if we didn't have all, this would create many buffers around each feature. Each of these little features would have its own little buffer. What this is going to do is it's going to dissolve or join together all the overlapping buffers. So if they overlap, it's not going to create it's going to join all that stuff together to make one polygon rather than thousands of different polygons. So everything from here should be okay. I'm going to drag this down a little bit just to make sure. Everything looks okay. This is probably going to take a little bit. Oh, well, for some reason it didn't take my meters here. 5,000. I don't know where that happened. But so let's make sure that everything is correct here. 5,000. Okay, yeah, we're good. For here, we should just hit OK. You'll see buffer. Excuse me. Down here, you'll see, on the lower right side, you'll see buffer. It can take a while for this to run because we're creating buffers around all of the rivers in Arkansas. It's a big file. And so, especially on slow computers, it can take you a little bit. So just, even if this doesn't show, you can go up to geoprocessing, results, current session, and you'll see this little hourglass right here. And that means the tool is still running. Sometimes this blue thing, the blue text down here doesn't appear. And so if you're wondering what the heck's taking so long, if it's still running or if there's an error or anything like that, you can go in there and look at your results. And if there's an hourglass here, it's still running. This will change over to a different type of icon once it's done. Yeah, you can see, that now it's done, and it's changed back into, it's hammer. So I'm just going to go ahead and close results. Go back to that. Okay, so we created buffers, and let's just bring this up for a second. You can see that it created 5 kilometer buffers, 5,000 meters, around every river feature. So that's how you create buffers. Now, for part 2, it's creating a variable distance buffer, and this is going to be dependent on a field that has measurements in it, units, meters and things like that. So what you want to do is go ahead and read the instruction part for this. I'm just not going to go over it. But from here, here's what we want to do. You want to add AR major cities. Here we go. We're going to add that, and we see that the cities were added. Now we have to, according to the instruction, we have to use a field that specifies the buffer distance for each feature, because the buffer is going to be dependent on the size of the city. And if we look at the attribute table here, we'll right click and go into the attribute table. We'll see population class, and we've got 6s here. There's a 7, 6. So they vary according, to their the class varies according to its population. So we're going to add a field that inputs the number of meters for each where a buffer should apply for each city, because not each city is going to get the same size of a buffer. And here's how we do that. We're going to click here. We'll go to Add Field. We're going to call this Buffer underscore dis, buffer distance, and we'll choose short. You really don't have to worry about anything else here. We'll just hit OK. We'll see that that populates with zeros. And we're gonna use the field calculator to populate values inside of here. Now the buffer distance should be proportional to the size of the city. Pop class is the class of population. So we're going to multiply the value in pop class times 1,000. And that'll give us the number of meters. We're going to calculate that inside of here. So here's how we do that. We're going to right click on this, go to field calculator, yes. We're going to, we said we wanted to multiply pop class times 1,000. So we'll hit this, we'll multican, and then we're going to type in 1,000 and hit OK. And this should populate. 6 times 1,000 is 6,000, 7 times 7, or 7 times 1,000 is 7,000. And so you can just kind of look over these and make sure that it populated right. 8,000, not a big deal. So now we have a field that has the number of meters for which to create buffers around each city. Right? This one, Bella Vista is going to get a 6,000 meter buffer. Fort Smith is going to get a 7,000 meter buffer. Little Rock, it's a larger city, so it's going to get an 8,000 meter buffer. And so that's how all that works. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go back into the buffer tool and just double click that. Our input feature, this time it's going to be major cities because that's what we're creating the buffer around. We want to create buffers around our cities. So we're going to go in here and hit major cities. Make sure to save this, not in default.gdb. I have to repeat this because too many people do it. We'll call this, what are we going to call this? AR underscore city underscore buffer dot SHP. Easy stuff. Now here's the difference. This is going to stay meters, but the distance is going to be dependent on that field that we created, the buffer distance. So we're going to click that, and we're going to drop this down to buffer distance. And so it's going to create buffers based on the values within this field. Okay. Everything here should be just fine. You don't really have to dissolve it because those cities are not that close to each other. And so once we've looked at this, we'll just go ahead and hit OK. It's going to run for a little bit. That didn't take nearly as long as the rivers because it's a smaller file. Less work to do. So I'm going to close my attribute table. We'll close that. And we see that these buffers were created around each other. And you can see that, this buffer is larger than this buffer. It looks like this buffer here is larger than this buffer. And you could go in and take a look at those, on your own if you wanted to. So there we go. Now our city buffers have been created. The instruction has us look at the attribute table. You can see that the buffer, the new buffer file that was created has all the stuff from that was in major cities, but it also has this one right here called buff dist. So it created a couple of new fields for us there. Your instruction has an example table. You don't really need to don't really worry about that one because it's supposed to look similar to. It will probably end up looking very much like mine right here. So don't worry too much about what's in the instruction. It's just an example. So what we're going to do from here um, is we're going to add a couple of. I'm looking at the example, and so we need to add a couple of layers in here to kind of tell what we're looking at. I'm going to add AR state. I'm also going to add AR public lands. I'm guessing we're going to be working with public lands later. Let's drag AR state all the way down here, and we'll do the same with public lands. I'm just going to create public lands as green because we know that public lands are green. So, hey, I didn't want that to happen. Okay, so there we go. We have a map that shows now it shows public lands and the Arkansas state boundary. So now we're going to learn about how to use overlay and erase. According to the instruction, we're going to erase city buffers from public lands because you remember that was one of the requirements set forth. Whenever we first went through this. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into analysis tools, overlay, and then erase. We'll double click erase. And our input feature for this is we're going to erase from public lands. So let's just select that one. Our erase features, we're going to use, what do we want to erase from it? We're going to use the city buffer to erase from it. So we'll click that one and then make sure that we don't save it to default.gdb. What are we going to call this? Public underscore city. Public underscore city.shp. And what this is doing is it's erasing from the public lands. It's erasing any city buffer that might lie over a public land, like this here. It looks like it might overlay the public land. A little bit here. And you really can't tell on some of these. I mean, some of these public lands are really, really small. So it's best to, like I've said before, don't, look at it with your eyes. Look at it using the computer. Let the computer do the work for you. And so this is going to create a new layer of public land with the city buffer area erased from it. Okay. Bear with me. It seems a little bit complicated, but it's not really. So we're going to hit OK. And it's going to run for a little bit. This erase thing should be running down here. Okay, there it is, public city. That was all pretty easy. I mean, you can kind of see. Let me make sure that I can see what we're looking at here. Okay, so I had to hit pause for just a second because I wanted to make sure I did everything correctly, so I could show you what happened there. We can see that, this color here applies to our new public city layer. And so I'm going to zoom in here, and I'll show you what happened. Okay, so it doesn't really look like too much happened right here, right? But if we turn off our city buffer, we can see this odd shape right here that's in the form of the city buffer. If we turn off public city, we can see the full public lands right here. And if we turn on public underscore city, we can see where that was erased out of it, right? If I turn off this one, we can see, this was erased according to that city buffer. So let's turn these all back on. We'll zoom all the way back out. There we go. Okay. I'm hoping this makes sense. Okay, so what we're going to do from here is we're going to overlay the public underscore city layer on the river buffer layer. And we want to find the common area between those two. And so we're going to use the intersect tool to do that. And to do that, we're going to pull up the ARC toolbox again. And we're going to use analysis tools, overlay, and then intersect. That's the tool we want to use. And again, this is going to create a new shapefile. Just like the buffer and the erase tool created new shapefiles. That's what we're doing here. We're just going to create a new shapefile that has, according to the inputs that we give it, it's going to create that new shapefile. So your input features, because we're intersecting more than one feature, we're going to have more than one input feature. So we're going to choose public city for our first input feature, and then we're going to choose the river buffer right here for your second input feature. It doesn't matter about the order. You can do it however you want. As always, don't save to default.gdb. We are going to save to our results folder. And we're going to call this public underscore city underscore river.sap. We'll hit save, and here is the end result of our analysis. It's running the intersect tool here. It should be, there it is, it wrapped up. Okay, so we'll close this and we'll close toolbox because we're done here. Public city river is the end result of our analysis. Public city river meets the criteria. It's close to water for, it shows the area that is close to water for duck habitats, far away from major cities, and on public lands. And if we look, a little bit closer at this, I'm going to change this to red just so we can see it a little better. There we go. Okay. We see that all of these are, they're a certain distance from cities. We see that they are close to water, and here's your rivers, close to water, and they're all on public land. A little complicated. You just kind of have to, go back and think through the analysis that you did. You created these buffers that locates it away from cities, but you also used the intersect tool to make sure that it was near rivers and on public lands. So it's pretty cool stuff. And this is the what you need to show on your deliverable is going to be public city river. Now, does that mean that's the only thing that you should show? No. Because, and let's go into layout view to show this. Go ahead and go into layout view. Yeah, we'll keep it like this just for now. I don't like this. Well, never mind. I'll let you work that out. But this shows us a bunch of stuff that nobody cares about. Nobody cares to see the 5 kilometer buffer around rivers. That's not important to the observer. So we're going to turn that off. And the same thing goes for your city buffers. That's just kind of information it tends to clutter up the map. So I'm going to turn that off too. And so we have, I've got rivers on here. I've got, well, let's go in order. We've got state boundaries. We've got public lands, rivers. Public city is probably not important here. I'm just going to turn that one off too, because that doesn't show an important part of it. It shows part of your analysis, but the end result, for the observer, is not to see the analysis that you've done, but the result of your analysis. Okay? And the result of our analysis is public, city, river. I would include major cities on here because it's always nice to have um, an idea of what cities are close by, you know, when people are looking at these things. Public lands could be, you know, important to see that, you know, not only are they on public lands, but where are those public lands located, you know. Rivers is a good thing to look at. And so you just kind of want to think through what's important to see. The instructor's illustration shows only the result of public, city, river. And the rubric, if we see the rubric, you know, it says that, you know, the public, or I'm sorry, buffer, overlay, and erase were done correctly. Well, I'll be able to tell if they're done correctly by taking a look at your public, city, river layer. If you're going to display it on a map, it needs to be in the legend, right? So if you're going to create a legend for these things, make sure that these are changed to read something normal. This shouldn't say AR rivers. This should say, you know, something like rivers. This shouldn't say AR underscore public lands. It should say, you know, public land. You know, something along those lines. AR underscore state. No, no, we don't say that. We say something like state boundary. We don't say AR underscore major cities. We say cities. That's much more intuitive to read than AR underscore major underscore cities. So, and so you want to create you know, change all that, put your legend on there, put your title on there, scale, the right scale bar, you need, you know, your authorship, north arrow, all your relevant map elements. You'll kind of want to start changing this up too, because these layers, they don't really look all that great. Rivers, I mean, rivers are blue, so let's go in and, you know, I don't know, we'll give it that blue, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, that's not bad. I would, and it's in the right order, because if we put rivers down here, it would kind of be obstructed by public land, so we can put that right there. Public, city, river is the result. Oh, I don't know. Well, surprise me. Don't choose bad colors. I don't know. We'll make that a purplish, I guess. State boundary. Ugh. I'm going to change the state boundary to like gray 40. Change the cities to, I guess, circle. Not that large. Change it down to 4. Cities could come up quite a bit there. We'll go to like, we'll go to 8. That's too big. Let's go in the middle. 6. You can go with that. But anyway, you don't have to keep this at you know, in landscape either. You could put this in a portrait layout if you wanted. What's most important is to make sure that this is highlighted as something that as the result of your work, right? Let's change this to like something like this. This is gonna probably hurt my eyes, but so there you go. I mean, just use your. I'm probably not going to grade, you know, very harshly on that sort of thing, but you know, use your good eye and kind of think through. I mean, parks, you know, parks and public lands, you know, that's green spaces, you know, so that you know, be green, rivers are blue. So just kind of start thinking through these things and show me some good color. That's something I don't get enough of is seeing good color. So anyway, you'll want to include all your map elements here. I'm not going to do that for you because you already know how to do it, right? And export this out as a new map. Submit it. And that's it. You're done. As always, we are available for questions. So if you have them, go ahead and send them.